Welcome back to Inside Pack Sports. We have another IPS film room coming your way. And before we get started, I want to remind you all, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Inside Pack Sports. We're going to continue to be producing content there moving forward. So make sure you subscribe. And today is Jerry Deng. I've got my guy, Jake McSwain, with me again. And Jake, we did one of these recently on Paul and Baya. I'm excited to jump into this one on Jerry Deng.
Yeah, I think Ding is just one of my favorite guys NC State has brought in just because I think he's so under the radar and is going to provide a ton for NC State. So, breaking down the film, we'll go through a few different areas. But I just want to give folks an upfront reminder I am traveling for work this week in a hotel. So, I don't know how this Wi Fi is going to go. We'll give it a shot. But with that, we'll kind of move into the film breakdown. And I want to start off with talking about his shooting. I think that's the biggest area that he's going to bring to NC State. I don't know that State's had a four that shoots it quite like him. And I'll preface all this before you even really start seeing him shoot. What I'm looking for when I start trying to evaluate a player's ability to shoot is, of course, you're looking at the live stats of it all, right? Like you want to see how he handled a load of volume. But I also want to see how their release looks. Does it look like a guard would shoot the ball, or does it look like a big who's kind of pushing the ball? And Ding, I think, is just such a fluid shooter. Like if you watch some of these clips, I mean, he's pulling up with a hand in his face. Like that's a pretty heavily contested three, but because of his length, because of how high the ball is throughout his release, he's able to get it off clean, and it's just quick and pretty. What are your thoughts, James?
I think he was recruited for his jump shot. I think when you look at his length, his size, and his ability to not only shoot the ball at the rate he can shoot it, but with the volume. I mean, he has a really good knack of finding spots and getting open in transition and within half court that lends itself to volume.
Yep.
Because some guys, they don't have that trait, right? Some guys, they struggle to get open. And it feels like when you watch this tape, and even I remember this watching some Florida State games during the course of the year, he'd come in and play 10 to 15 minutes, but it felt like he was getting 3, 4, 5 3-point attempts on a team that's really not great at creating offense. And so I think that's where his upside lies, is like if you put him in an offense that can work even more to create shots for him, he has a chance to really be, I think, a difference maker in his own way for NC State. But the shot, it looks good. Like you said, I think the thing that stands out to most with his jumper is how well he shoots it contested. Right? I mean, this is a guy who, when guarded, I was looking at some of his synergy numbers this year on guarded catch and shoot jumpers, 93 percentile nationally. He shot 44% on guarded jump shots. He was actually worse on unguarded jumpers, which you would agree. That's just fluky regression. That's something that'll work itself out. I mean, he shot 34% on unguarded jump shots this year, and 44% on guarded. So, look, that's something that, from a regression standpoint, will work itself out to where I think you have to be excited about his upside as a shooter.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned he gets it in different ways. Like I'm impressed with his ability to run the floor in transition. He's like constantly going to the wing, so it's the best way for me to rewind it. But he gets to a spot on the wing. Like guys have to respect this. So you're putting, I think that's Carolina, but like that guy has to guard the ball. But Ding on the perimeter is such a threat that he has to get out there and he just can't recover fast enough. So for me, it's like he's going to fill that role in transition, but then you look on offense, and this next clip goes right into it. He can park himself in the corner and be a safety outlet for guards. It takes away the defense's ability to double team. Like right there, if they're trying to double or if they're trying to tag a roll man or a cutter, you just have to account for him. And it's not a situation where it's going to take him a long time to release the ball. Like from catch to shot is really fast for him. And for a guy who's 6'9", 6'10" with length, it's a problem a lot of guys his size faces. Their shot takes a long time to load up. But even there, that's a cross-court pass that he just had to get with a guy that had time to recover, and he's still able to get a somewhat clean look off. So I think it's going to be so big.
If you go back a few more, the one where there was a double team on the ball, what I mean by working himself to get open, I think it's this one. He he starts out in the deep corner, but he recognizes his teammates getting double teamed. And so he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't just stay parked in the corner. He moves and kind of finds that open area to where he can make himself available for the pass and still get his shot off
Yep.
with these, like right here, right here. I mean, this is not really, I mean, on this isn't a tag and replace. He's playing deep corner, but he sees the double team and he doesn't stay in the corner. He lifts himself up and makes himself available to where he can get his shot off. I mean, just little things like that, where some guys, they don't have that nuance of working to get open. And I think that's where, like I said, I thought at times this year, Jake, we talked about this with Dontrez Styles. State couldn't get him enough 3-point shot attempts, right? Like that's
No.
what you brought him in for. And it felt like there were games where he's playing 27 minutes and taking 2 threes. I don't think that's going to be an issue with Jerry Deng. I think because of how he can play in transition, because of his movement skills, and also I think you'll have better guards around him, frankly, if I'm being honest, to create for him. You're going to see this be a guy who, even if he's a 15 to 20 minute a night player off the bench, he can still get you 3, 4, 5, 6 attempts a night. And when you think bench scoring, that's huge.
Yeah, and he's just somebody who's going to be able to like find his shots. To your point, he's not stagnant on offense. And you talk about him when you talk about him relocating, that is such a slight thing and something that is a smaller skill set in the overall game of basketball, but it's so important, and it's something you try to teach guys in high school, and it doesn't always translate, to your point. Like some guys can just never quite figure it out of moving without the basketball, especially when you move based off someone else's movement, like moving off of a drive, moving off of what a defense is doing. And then the last thing I kind of want to point out about his shooting is I think he does a really good job of getting his feet set. Like he doesn't kickstand it all the way, but he gets his feet underneath him and square consistently. Like there's not many situations where he's catching the ball off balance and still putting a shot up. So I think that's probably a big contributor to his consistency. Like this shot right here, a lot of guys, you'll see their feet kind of get skewed towards the basket, especially when they're getting closed out and a guy's sliding underneath them like that. But it's still such an up and down release for him that there's not a lot of areas for it to go wrong. Like even right there, that's a tough catch. Like, I mean, that's a tough catch to still get your feet relatively square to the basket. And he does it with a hand in his face and is still able to knock it down.
You go back to the one before this one against Duke. Confidence is another thing I like about him. Like he understands he can shoot the basketball. So with that, you're going to get a quick trigger. And I'm watching this one here. I think it's, the one maybe right before this one. I want you to notice the shot clock when he takes this jump shot right here. This is 23 seconds, and this is a contested 3 right here. And he's, look, no conscience. I'm a shooter. This is my role. I'm coming out to shoot the basketball. He's shooting that with 22 seconds to go on the shot clock.
Yeah, this one was contested in the corner with 15 seconds off of an odd catch. But he feels like he has the space, so he's going up with it.
And at his size, 6'9", long, you're not finding many guys with his confidence, with that shooting ability. This is the reason we're excited about him. This is a guy you're not talking about in terms of being a definite starter. Could be. But when you're piecing together a roster and you're taking upside flyers, this is the perfect type of player to take because he's already comfortable in the role you're likely going to ask him to play as an off-the-bench scorer. But he has the upside going into third year in college to where maybe he's a starter for you. Maybe he develops into a 13, 14 point per game scorer for you who is just basically a tag eliminator, because if you put him in the corner and you're rolling a Paul Mbaya to the basket, for instance, what is that tag defender going to do? And that's to me, that's his biggest strength.
And I'm not sure, like I've said pretty consistently here, that if PJ Haggerty ends up at NC State, I don't know that it doesn't make sense to start Jerry Deng this year just because of what he's going to do for that starting lineup and the space that he's going to provide. It's a scary proposition for defenses, to your point, because he's going to have to be accounted for. Like, you can't leave him on the corner. He's going to move without the ball. And he does things well. Like he's just the ultimate kind of glue guy that's going to make your offense more efficient, regardless of how many shots he gets up. And to your point from earlier, I still think he's going to get up a substantial number of shots.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think the shooting 100% is his best trait. But like you said, I'm sure we've got maybe some other stuff in here to look at. I mean, there's different areas of his game as well that I think can earn him minutes.
Yeah, and we'll kind of go into it. I broke it down from his shooting ability, and then I kind of call all this other stuff his counters. Like, what's he
Mm-hmm.
do when guys close out? Because as a shooter, and you know this, the biggest threat to your game is when defenses try to cheat what you do well. So they either don't help, their coaches will tell them not to help and just stay chest to chest. They may just play tighter than you're comfortable, and they may close out super aggressively. So like this is a good example right here. The guy comes, he's jumping early, he's closing out aggressively. So the counter to that for Jerry Deng, even though he's not someone who spends a ton of time with the ball in his hands, is turn into a straight line driver. Like take one or two dribbles, get to the rim and finish. And I think it's something he showed on tape at Florida State that he can do decently well. He has a decent touch around the rim. It's a matter of how do you react when teams do that more consistently.
Yeah, look, most guys ripping and driving on that are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" wings. I mean, when
Mm-hmm.
you've got a guy 6'9" now barreling down towards the rim, that's a totally different animal. And like you said, I mean, the thing I like about it is he's decisive in what he's going to do. He understands. My son now is playing. You know this from coaching. I talk to him a lot of times. As you move up in levels that you play, you need to already know what your go-to move is in a given spot. You need to
Mm-hmm.
understand what you want to do. And for him, it's simple. When I catch it, if I can shoot it, I'm shooting it. If not, I'm ripping it and trying to get to the basket.
Yeah.
It's There's not a lot of variance there, right? I mean, he understands what he wants to do whenever he's touching the basketball.
Absolutely. And then so the other area, and these will all be kind of mixed in throughout, but he's a good rim runner in transition as well. I know we talked about him getting to the wing and getting to his sweet spots to get off shots, but he's athletic enough, and you'll see it in a few of these plays where he can run to the rim, catch lobs. Like he's not a slouch athletically. He's someone that can still make plays, can beat his man down the court if he's getting guarded by another big or if he has a head of steam. You'll see it in a few different areas. Like he can run the floor really well and be a target for guys like a Haggerty or a Holloman. So I think that's just another area where he's going to be able to provide some garbage points, where he's not just going to solely be a 3-point shooter.
I think it's interesting to see how much they play him at the 5 this year
Mm-hmm.
because what you're talking here. I mean, him running in transition he's going to outrun most fives. He gives you pick and pop ability that is going to be extremely tough to defend. If you want to get him a 3-point shot, play him at the 5 position and run a side pick and pop. I mean, he's going
Yeah.
to get. You're going to put teams in really tough spots there. And then, like you said, I mean, he even looks like a guy who can pick and roll for you if you need to and rim run some.
Yeah. And
So
here's some examples of that. I mean, like these are more cuts. So he'll do this a lot, like 45 cuts when teams are trying
mhm.
to deny that wing pass or not let him catch and shoot. So, okay, I'll just slip cut you, get to the rim and dunk. Like it's a little small thing that just shows basketball IQ.
Let me ask you this. I know we're rolling through these. We tend to do a lot of the positives with these guys, right? What are some of the things that you maybe have seen from him that would be a concern?
Well, it's tough to say like a definitive concern because there's nothing
Mm,
statistically that stands out to you.
right.
I think he shot like 10 mid-range jumpers last year. He made 60% of them. So I mean, that's not a huge concern that he's taken bad shots. The volumes of threes that he took per minute being on the court is maybe a little high. So you know you wonder if he goes through a cold stretch how that impacts him or what that does to his usage or efficiency on the court. But I think that comes with any shooter, so it's hard to put that as a Jerry Ding thing and more as like
Right.
any shooter can go cold. So it's like, how do I view that as a problem? Uh, I would say the downside would be his just lack of ability to handle the ball well. But again, the role that you're playing him in, I don't see that being a huge point of concern for NC State staff. The one area that is probably a definitive negative for him would be just a lower than ideal rebound rate. So he wasn't a huge rebounder at Florida State, but they're also playing him with a 7'2" dude a lot of times. So it's kind of hard to say that's on him as well. But I think you would want to see him ideally become more of a team rebounder that can contribute and get in there. He does crash the offensive glass some, and we'll go into that into a bit, but probably a slightly better defensive rebounder.
Yeah, I agree. And I think maybe a little bit defensively, right? Like making sure he's still locked in and engaged defensively. And we know under Wade, that's going to be a big calling card because they do a lot of things defensively. But I think offensively, this is a guy who there's a lot of potential there in how State can use him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So kind of breaking back down to the film, we'll get back to where we were. Well, and we'll talk. There's a defensive segment as well in here, but there's little things he does too, like catching the ball on the block. There was a few examples of him doing that off of cuts, and he was decisive. So you talk about playing him at the 5, and if he is a short roll or a long roll and ends up with someone on his back, he's not someone who's incapable, which is good. Like that's just a little patient play too. Like you see guys in this spot kind of freak out sometimes and not get the ball right away, but he just stands there, gets the ball, like I'll just go dunk it. That's fine. Lots of little garbage points there. So like I said, attacks the offensive glass some, which is nice. I think he does. I don't know what his rate was, but he's pretty quick off his feet. He'll try to get it back up. I think as NC State's expectations are considered, I think these are just kind of buckets that you treat as gravy. It's like you bring him in to be a shooter, but if he does all this other stuff and gets points that way, that's just icing on top of everything else that he does for you.
Yeah, and this is the area where I was talking when we did one of our initial breakdowns on him. Florida State used him a lot in baseline out of bounds sets, like whether that's as a cutter. I saw him running off some screens to corners for 3-pointers. I mean, this you're talking about a 6'9" guy. You're running off screens to try and get wing corner threes on baseline inbounds plays. So it's little things like that, but he's comfortable in that spot, and frankly, a lot of guys aren't. A lot of guys aren't comfortable there. And so that's another area I think you can kind of use him at if you're NC State.
Yeah, he's a weapon. If he's taking the ball out of bounds, like you can do so many interesting things with him. As a kind of screen the inbounder, the most dangerous man on the court. You can run him, a screen the screener type play where he's setting something for a PJ Haggerty going out to the wing, and then all that gravity that creates, you might be able to find him some pretty clean looks. I think he's just a gadget that NC State's going to be able to use in a lot of different ways. It's going to allow them to be creative with what they do on offense. And defensively, I think I don't have maybe that many concerns. There's that almost exact same play from the Clemson game from earlier where he catches it on the block and he's just going to go baseline spin. It seems to be his move whenever he's on the block from what I've seen, but it's nice that he has it. But yeah, again, straight line drivers has how I would define him. He's not someone that's going to go off of a pick and roll or make a million things happen. But if someone closes out, like this guy's off balance. He's closed out super hard, and his weight's towards Deng's back foot, so Deng can just blow by him, get to the rim, and easy finish. Like, that's all you're looking for from him. Oh, there's a rare Jerry Deng pick and roll.
Yeah,
but it's I don't know what the big man's doing. Setting the screen backwards here, but it worked out. A little touch. I mean, he has good touch and good athleticism. Everything he does looks fluid. There's not many times where I know people talk Mo Diarra as well all the time, and they think that comp got thrown around a little bit.
Mo Diarra with Jerry Deng.
Yeah, I saw a few people say that he's like Mo, but doesn't rebound as well. And I saw it a couple times. I just think the reason I brought up Mo Diarra at all.
Yeah.
Is that he was someone that was athletic, but you watch him move throughout the defense and on offense, and he was a little mechanical looking. And that's just, that's not something you're going to get from Deng at all. Now, I want to shift into his defense a little bit. And what it's impressive to me is we've talked a lot about NC State as a team defending the 3-point line and kind of the frustrations that have come with that. Deng is someone who last year defensively, I did the numbers on this, when he was the primary defender, his man shot like 24% from 3 last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, a lot of times you want to look into that as like, man, is that a statistical fluke? Like that can't really be that accurate. So I broke it down even more and looked at the unguarded numbers. And so when his man was unguarded, they shot like 45%. So it's like,
Right.
okay, there's something going on here. So I pulled some clips of just him covering ground. So like I want you to take note. He's getting caught up in a screen and he's got to recover a long way, but he picks up on where the ball's coming from early. So as he rolls out and runs out, like he's able to jump from still really far away, but I mean, you talk about getting a hand in the shooter's line of vision, getting close to the ball, like that's a hard closeout to shoot against. I don't know how comfortable I'd be closing out on somebody that had the wingspan that he did, running out trying to block my shot, because there's a significant chance he gets a piece of it. This is another, like, this is from the opposite side of a screen, and I like this camera angle because you can see like he's still jumping from behind a screen, getting close to getting a finger on that ball.
Well, the impressive thing to me on those two clips is the dexterity to not foul,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like closing out hard on jump shots, and you still are not putting yourself in a position to foul there. And that's where, when you talk about comparing him to Mo, to me, that's the difference. It's and you mentioned it, like Mo's a little more
Mm-hmm.
mechanical. And again, this is not trust me, I'm not anti-Mo take here. This is like, I would view Deng as a big guard versus
Yeah.
an athletic forward. You get where I'm coming from? Whereas Mo's more of an athletic forward versus a big guard. And that's really, to me, the difference in the two. I mean, his movement skills, Deng's movement skills, are just really good for a guy
Yeah,
his
he
size.
moves like a guard, and he plays kind of like a big guard. So that's a really kind of apt thing to say. Um, I thought when I first watched this clip, I was like, oh, there's no way this is like one of those where he just got lucky his man didn't make it. But the more I watch it, it's like he is impacting the shot one way or the other. Like he's jumping from, I mean, what's that, 10 feet away?
Mm-hmm.
But by the time like he's there, like I still think it's kind of like that Luke Cornett defense in the NBA where
Yeah.
like you're just getting your hands into the line of the rim and throwing off their depth perception and still making it hard. But I mean, that is such a long way to come from. Like when his man catches that ball, he's in the paint. Like he's not just in the paint, he's like 2 feet in the paint.
Yeah.
And is still able to at least get the effort to get out there and make it somewhat difficult.
Yeah, and that's what you want to see defensively. First thing is effort. Is he out there competing? Is he out there trying? Where I was questioning his defense, or will, until we see him here at NC State, is, Will Wade's going to do a ton of switching. He's going to put guys in spots where maybe they're naturally not going to be comfortable, and you've got to just go out and compete. And I think he's got the skill set, though, and the tools to be a really good defender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he has the athleticism to make up for mistakes, and that's the other thing too, is when you factor in that effort, guys are going to make mistakes on defense. But like right here, he gets flat-footed, loses track of the man in the corner, but is able to still recover out and at least get a hand up. And to your point, dexterity not to follow through and
Mm-hmm.
end up fouling somebody. But I mean, it's just kind of hard, like, because that's still impacting the shot, and it clearly did. Like I was skeptical when I first started watching the film, but looking at the stats, it's clear he impacts shooters. Like he makes it hard for them to get that shot off and to feel comfortable. I don't know. I just think that defensively he could be a piece that helps NC State more than you maybe factor in, considering people view him as an offensive player.
Right.
Like
Right.
here's another one. He like man catches the ball. He's got 1 foot in the paint this time, and that's the closeout's real.
No, you mentioned it. I mean, his synergy numbers defensively are great. I mean, I think I'm looking at him now, 89 percentile nationally on all field goal attempts, 31% shooting allowed for him on jump shots, 26%. And yeah, 23% on guarded catch and shoot jumpers, 45% on unguarded. So his numbers look really, really good on the defensive end also.
Yeah, and that's all the film I have on him. But I just think that he's potentially a little more well-rounded than people expect coming in. I think defensively he is definitely underrated. And offensively, he's just a plug and play piece. Like he's going to bring so much space to an offense that is desperately going to need it with some of the guards that they have and some of the attacking options. It's just going to feed into itself so much more, and that'll create more open looks for him. And defenses are going to be put in these impossible choices of deciding: are we going to really just limit 3-point shots, or are we going to really focus on helping off of drives, making sure that we're cutting off the rim and make NC State beat us? And I don't know if I was putting on my opponent team's scouting hat and saying, I don't know what choice I would make in that situation.
He's tough. He's going to be like the more I look into Jerry Deng, I wonder how big of a are we underestimating the potential role he could have? Mm-hmm. Because I'm with you at the 4. If you end up finishing out this roster the way they're capable of doing it, is he the guy you want to start at the 4? And maybe you bring a Quadir Copeland off the bench. And I think you've got options, and he's kind of one of those pieces where you really can use him in any sort of way you want. I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. And I think I'm excited to do more of these as well, because as you break down film and get more in depth into it, you just become more knowledgeable about how NC, like the lights start clicking for people of how many options this team is going to have, and like the different paths that they can take and the levers they can pull. So it's going to be an exciting year. Long time till October, though. So we'll see how the rest of this roster shakes out.
Jerry Deng, our IPS Film Room. Like I said at the beginning, make sure you subscribe if you can to Inside Pack Sports here on YouTube. We're going to do another one of these here soon.